patch rundown. Today we're going to analyze the patch 5.1. I'll try to keep this one short and sweet, so it's according to your comments and your recommendations earlier. Okay, so the overlapping crowd control effects. Now when you chain the CC on somebody, they will not get the 0.25 second window to flash or use do an auto attack on somebody else. So this is going to make it way better than before. It's gonna make it more realistic than before. Champion some texture changes. For Azir, this is a pretty good fix for Azir because before sometimes you would summon a essential soldier and he wouldn't attack, so it would prevent you first from doing like some pretty important auto attacks, and second it would prevent you well, it would just waste your mana for nothing. This is a pretty big nerf for Corki. Even though he gets like 100% more mana cost on his W, what that means is he won't be able to harass as much as before. Well, not as freely as before. It's going to be more calculated because he will have to save, instead of 50 mana, 100 mana, so he can escape in case of ganks or like bad moves. Elise, they've done some pretty good changes to Elise, some pretty good nerf to Elise for her jungle potential. Evelyn, they fix a bit of Evelyn's mana issues in the jungle. Since the blue buff also only lasts for 2 minutes instead of 3 minutes this time. This is pretty good on Evelyn because nowadays people take Blade of Ruin King on Evelyn, so the E will apply twice the effect of the Blade of Ruin King on Evelyn. This is going to be a pretty good buff for her when she ganks and well, do the jungle. And okay, this is a pretty good bug fix for Fizz because a Sheen proc on Fizz is pretty awesome. For Gnar, they nerfed his early game pretty hard because now you lose 25% on the well, refunded cooldown that you would get on the Q, so you will be able to harass less in the lane, but it's gonna scale back up at level 16, meaning when you get the third point in your R. They buffed a bit of Hikarim's mana issues in the jungle, and also this is pretty good, 33% more healing for Hikarim. They reduced the width of the missile for the Howling Gale, the Q, the Tornado of Janna. Also, well, what this means is it's going to be way more easy to dodge. Well, not way more easy, but it's going to be easier to dodge. Honestly, it was 150 width is a lot. It's hard to miss when you time it correctly. So 120 is more fit for her. For Jace, this is a pretty good. Well, good. It's a pretty strong nerf for him because in the early game it's not gonna matter that much. Like 5% less total damage. Because he doesn't have that many items in the early game anyway, because he scales more from the... I mean, he builds more the Tear of the Goddess in the early game, but 20% less of the total attack damage in the late game. This is a lot, okay? His pushing potential and his damage is going to go lower by quite a bit, because like it's only his W, but this is damage per attack, so basically this is going to make like he has 3 shots with his W, so it's going to be 60% less damage from the total attack damage. That is a lot. Kalista, I don't really play Kalista, so I'll pass over her. For Nautilus, let's go see some numbers that I got. So for Nautilus, this column A is the percentage HP you would like scaling from the shield. This is the base amount of shield you would get, and this is the old base amount of shield you would get. This is the amount of HP you would have to have to make the old shield equivalent to the new shield. So in the early game, it's not that much. 500 for level 1 is okay because you start with 432 and you get plus 86 per level. So it's not that much. Level 2, it hurts quite a bit. You won't get as much shield as before. But in the late game, of course, you're going to get over this amount of HP. So you're gonna get a lot of shield. This is a pretty good nerf buff for the late game. So going over Rek'Sai, some pretty good nerfs to his damage. Might not be as much as I'd like, since his laning phase is a pain in the ass to deal with. Because one of the main problem for laning against Rek'Sai in the early game is his massive sustain from the W, because he gets a lot of fury from his attacks. So he just burrows somewhere like that you can't harass. So he will just sustain all his HP back. So I think that Riot tried to nerf Rek'Sai in a way that it doesn't really like hurt him in the laning phase that much. Like, it doesn't fix the problem of Rek'Sai having a ton of sustain in the top lane. For Renekton, they changed the way the Fury works. Those number would have to do a lot of math to know if it's worth as before, or if it's better if it's a nerf or a buff. But if we read it quickly, apparently he will get Fury more than before, I think. So it might be better for him. So Rumble, okay, a fix for Skarner. So like earlier for Hikarim, they changed a bit of a mana for Skarner. It's gonna make it easier for him. Okay, so they remove 5 movement speed from Sona. This is actually 5 movement speed might not seem a lot, but 5 movement speed for a character like Sona is actually a lot, because 5 movement speed can make the difference between you going in, throwing a Q, throwing an auto attack, and backing out to go into the bush fast enough so they can't react to you. It's gonna not be as easy to do that as before, because 5 movement speed can be the difference between you going into the bush or you stay not going into the bush as quickly as before. This was a pretty much needed nerf for her passive proc on her Q. I didn't see that many Syndras being a problem, so I do not see where this nerf is coming from in the early game, but it is somewhat understandable. 20 base damage in the early game is actually a lot, so we might see Syndra fade away a bit. Okay, this is way better because the hitbox for the Scatter the Weak, the potential stun for Syndra was absurd. Like, she could stun way so easily before, and it would go so far. So this is a pretty good nerf for her. Okay, this is not a buff to Xerath like I thought it was reading News of Legends. This is actually like just a fixing the tooltip. It's updating the tooltip, so it's not the same. Okay, so they say in advance that they're going to nerf Zed. Texture rebalance, nobody cares. Portrait, nobody cares again. Map texture. Well, this might help for the FPS. Turret aggro. So now you won't be able to get rid of the target from the turret aggro anymore when you flash out of its range. Okay, this is why I put the title Riot Destroying Rotation. This has no what bad word should I use? This has no meaning to be there. Like, this is way, like, I have no words to describe this. Like, this is a way to destroy the game, because what this does it's going to allow people to defend way more easily because it's gonna be it's gonna make it harder to rotate between the top and the middle lane and the middle and the bot lane. Like it's gonna add so much risk to the team pushing. Like I don't get Riot. They're trying to make the game less stalling. Like they wanna make it more action packed. But this will make the game stall way further because you're going to be able to defend. Like it's gonna add way more options to defend. For those who don't know yet, the gates, okay, are a new way to exit the bases. Apart from the top, middle, and bottom lane, like between the two lanes, the top, middle, and the bottom, and the bottom and the middle, you're gonna have two gates that you will be able to exit, and the enemy won't be able to go in. So it's and yes, I think I'll have to try that, but I think you're gonna be able to enter your base from there. So it will allow you to just catch anybody rotating between the two lanes. And you'll be able, if you're able to go back in, you'll be able to go out and in as you wish. So you can just go out, poke somebody, just go back in, and depending on the width, you might be able to grab somebody from the thresh hook through the wall. So now you won't have to use a flash to go over the wall anymore. You just be able to go over the gate. So it's gonna force people to use a bigger detour to go to another lane because it's going to be risky for them to go so close to where you can engage and where they can't engage. So I really don't see why Riot added this. This is like adding something new for the sake of adding something new. This does not add any thing good to the game. Okay, about the smite. Now you have two charges of smite. The cooldown for one charge is 75 seconds, but you can have two at the same time. But you can't smite twice in a row within 15 seconds. So it has like a relative cooldown of 15 seconds. Also, it only starts to charge up at 140. You could use this to smite two buffs in the jungle. You can use it to smite a buff and smite a Baron or dragon, or you can actually use it to smite the dragon, the Baron and the dragon, depending on how much time you you take to do it. Or you can just smite an objective or a buff and go smite a player in the lane. Like, let's say this could be really OP on junglers that didn't have hard CC to gank, because let's say you take let's say you take Udyr, okay, and you recall to take the chilling smite. You can actually smite the red buff, and you go in the lane and you smite the top laner, let's say. So you slow him down, you would stun him, and then you would slow him with the red buff. Plus, you would get your HP back with the red buff. So this, depending on how you use it, it might be really good. And on anybody, it would be really good because two smites will help the jungler a lot. Okay, so now it's going to be harder to dance the jungle monsters. Dragon, blah blah blah. Okay, well, they did the same thing as they did with the Baron before. Because before you could ward on the Baron, like immediately on the Baron, so it would be harder to target the ward. You'd have to like try to click it. Now it does the same thing with the dragon. It just knocks the ward away. Also, they changed the tooltip. Before, it used to be the damage to the turret, this one being the fourth, and the damage to the minions and monster being the second. So yeah, they changed the tooltip. For Baron Nashor, before I read this real patch note, I thought they would keep it like the base damage to 240 and the base health to 6400. So I thought that they were going to keep it like that, but after reading this patch note, it's way better, because if they kept it that way, it would be way too easy to take the Baron. So now the Baron would start with 400 attack damage and 10,000 HP. It's gonna make it easier to take the Barons, but it's gonna, like, since the Baron scales with with time now, it's gonna make it harder in the late game to take Baron. And a bunch of I think it's the it's the Baron's attack that got nerfed by actually quite a bit. Yeah, Baron will deal a lot less damage now. So we'll have to see that, but it's gonna be easier. It's gonna be not easier, but it's gonna be safer to take Baron now. Like you won't tank as much as before, so you'll have to be able to like you have the ability to just turn around when the enemy comes. Okay, so this will make the jungle easier. Jungle scaling, the XP you get will not be reduced unless the camp is 3 levels lower than you, so it's gonna be good. Okay, item exchange. Overall, what this means is you can, for the trinkets, you can exchange trinkets of the same level. Let's say you get like a level 9 trinket, yellow trinket, you can exchange it for a level 9 red trinket. It's okay. Was also, like, it's good, but it's not that big of a deal. What's really good though is those unenchanted jungle items. You can now exchange them for like the exact same cost, and also you can exchange boots. You can exchange the enchantment from the boots, so this is going to be really good. Like in the early game you might need more home guards to get back into the lane faster or something, or in the late game you might need home guards to go defend the base or heal more quickly. But then in the mid game you can, like, depending on what you need, you can change it to a captain, I think it's called, or fury. Well, depending on what you need, like you're gonna be it's gonna be more flexible for you. Okay, ZZ Rod Portal. This is basically a like a Malzahar static thing, where this is like it summons something that will summon void spawns every 4 seconds, and like Malzahar's voidlings, they become stronger, but they only stay for a short amount of time. So this is a good item for junglers or for supports, or even for top laners maybe, that are that need more tankiness and that need more pushing power. Okay, Hunter's Machete. This is really good because it gives 50% more gold. It might not seem a lot, but after let's say 50, so a pot, so like after 7 camps, it's 1 more pot. So let's say you might do 3 or 4 camps before recalling, so that's like 15 to 20 gold before recalling, more than you would get. So if you take into factor the fact that you have to recall for 8 seconds and stuff, you might be able to get another potion before going back into the jungle. Like you'd have to wait only a bit, whereas before, if you get 10, like relatively to this, you would get 0. You'd have to wait the 35 gold, but now you would only have to wait 15 to 20 gold, which is not that bad like if you take for granted that you have to heal. So it might be another potion. Also 50% more gold on the jungle item tier 2 and 3. Okay, so this is basically a they changed the Chilling Smite into a Blade of Rune King. This is, depending on who you're playing, it might be good or bad, because 50% movement speed slow is actually a lot for 2 seconds. It's a lot, but now you can get more movement speed, right? So it's going to be easier for you to reach the other team. So let's say there's the enemy front line in front of you, and you want to reach the carries, and you can't reach them because they're too far and you can't smite them. You can use this to steal the movement speed and go and reach their carries. Or you can use this to escape. This can be a pretty good tool to escape a whole team instead of just escaping one person that you can slow with 50%. So depending on the situation, it could be better. Okay, so the buffed Guardian Angels cost a bit. Okay, so those two, they go together. They shifted 5% critical strike chance from Infinity Edge to Phantom Dancer. It's shifting the power of the AD carries from the early game where they would rush Infinity Edge to the mid and late game where they can get the Phantom Dancer, because there is not a lot of AD carries that would rush the Phantom Dancer before the Infinity Edge. So this is like a bit of changing the power scaling of the AD carries. Okay, well, this was pretty much needed because people would just spam double Morello Nomicon in some games to get 40% CDR and tons of mana regen and actually 160 AP. You could still do that. 880 gold. Well, it depends, because if we really need that those stats on a 0, it might still be good, but well, now it won't be as good as before. Trinket changes. They nerfed the cost on the trinket changes. To upgrade to those items, honestly, like 225 gold at the point where you have to upgrade it to those trinkets, it's not gonna make that much of a difference. What's gonna make a big difference are the cooldowns. Now the difference in cooldown from the pink trinket to the upgraded red trinket, it's only 45 seconds. So you might actually see more pink trinkets than the red trinkets. Yes, it gives Oracle, which is like, it's basically a red trinket, a permanent red trinket until it gets destroyed or you replace it. For 45-second less. Like, it would cost you 45 seconds of cooldown, but you would get it for permanent instead of permanently static instead of a moving short Oracle. So depending on the situation, it might be better actually. Okay, Howling Abyss, Rune changes, doesn't matter. Ability bar, doesn't matter, bug fixes. Okay, well, that's pretty much it. So thank you guys for tuning in, and honestly, I really didn't like the gates, but we'll see. I might be wrong. I actually hope I'll be wrong, because I don't want to see like useless stuff in the game. But overall, I think this patch was much needed for some junglers, and the trinket is pretty nice. It's gonna add some diversity instead of people watching the red trinket all the time. So thank you guys for listening, and stay tuned for more videos. If you like this patch rundown, you can subscribe and thumbs up for the video. And also you can send me coaching requests to my email, czg_.wisdom at gmail.com. And also follow me on Twitter at czg_wisdom. So again, thank you for listening to the video, and see ya.